Welcome back to my series covering the Freedom Constitution, formerly named the Constitution of the Freedom Founders of the United States. In this video clip, we're going to be covering Article 4, Sections 7, 8, 9, and 10. There is a lot there, so we should get started now. Section 7. The Intercedent Representative will receive all votes, decisions, legislative orders, and other government actions for veto polling. A. For every Congressional House Representative action, the Intercedent Representative will disseminate a summary of the issue and the action taken by each House member of their respective states or territories to the respective Hall of Intercedent. Every Hall of the Intercedent will create one veto poll for each voting district that lists the summary of the issue and the support or dissent of the respective House member of each voting district. The Hall of the Intercedent will disseminate the veto poll to all voting districts within their respective states or territories. For voting district polls that receive less than 50% plus one votes rounded down to the nearest whole number, the Hall of Intercedent will record a no veto vote in their official polling logbook. And for voting district polls that receive 50% plus one or more rounded down to the nearest whole number, the Hall of Intercedent will record the veto poll in their official logbook, securely forward the veto poll to the Intercedent representative, and create a veto vote within 30 days. Once the veto poll is concluded over a 2-day voting period, the Hall of Intercedent will record the vote in the official logbook, securely forward the vote to the Intercedent representative, and publicly publish the vote within 24 hours. If 80% of district voters, rounded down to the nearest whole number, vote to overturn the decision, the Intercedent representative will securely deliver the veto to the Speaker of the House of Representatives. The Speaker of the House of Representatives will record the veto in the logbook, reverse the action of the member who has been vetoed by the voters, and once all vetoes are received, recorded, and all actions reversed, or within 60 days of the Intercedent representative's receipt of the decision, the Speaker of the House will record the vetoes in the House log, call the House to quorum, call the action to the floor, read the vetoes, and use the initially required thresholds for supporting the issue or conducting the action to determine the outcome of the vote. So what this is saying is that if the House of Representatives votes on a law, then the Intercedent representative will receive the votes of every member of the House of Representatives and forward them to the local Hall of the Intercedent. The Hall of the Intercedent will create a public poll where all voting members in the district can say whether or not the House member voted correctly on that law. If more than 50% of voters say that the House member took the incorrect action on the law, the Hall of the Intercedent will then create a vote within the district to ask all voters if the representative took the incorrect action. If 80% of all voters within the district agree that the House member took the wrong action, the Hall of the Intercedent will record that, send it to the Intercedent representative, who will also record it, and then they'll send that to the Speaker of the House. The Speaker of the House will publicly read on the floor the names of all members of the House who took the wrong action and were vetoed by their constituents, and then recount the support or dissent for the law. And then the law will either be passed or defeated based on the level of support after the voters have vetoed or chose not to veto. B. For every Congressional Senate action, the Intercedent representative will disseminate a summary of the issue and the action taken by the Senate to the respective states or territories of their respective Hall of Intercedent. Every Hall of the Intercedent will create 3 veto polls that list the summary of the issue and the support or dissent of each senator, and disseminate 1 veto poll to the Senate district from which each senator was elected. If the poll results in a 50% rounded down to the nearest whole number vote of all registered district voters, the vote is recorded in the Hall of the Intercedent logbook, publicly published within 24 hours, and securely forwarded to the Intercedent representative, where it is recorded in the official logbook. And if the poll results in a 50% plus 1 rounded down to the nearest whole number vote to veto, the Hall of the Intercedent will record the vote in the logbook, publicly publish the result within 24 hours, and securely forward to the Intercedent representative. The Intercedent representative will record the vote in the logbook and securely deliver the result to the President of the Senate. The President of the Senate will record all veto votes in the Senate logbook, record the new level of support for the issue or action, call the Senate to quorum, call the veto vote to the floor, publicly read the new vote on the floor of the Senate and use the initially required thresholds for supporting the issue or conducting the action to determine the outcome of the vote. So this is the same as the House of Representatives. When the Senate does something, like vote on a law, that is passed to the intercedent representative who disseminates it to the Hall of Intercedents. Then every Senate voting district receives a poll. If 50% of voters say the senator got it wrong, then the Hall of the Intercedent creates an official vote. If 80% of voters within the Senate district say the senator got it wrong, the senator's action is vetoed and it is publicly read on the floor of the Senate and reversed. And then once all the vetoes are received, the new count for support is read and the law is either defeated or supported or passed based on the level of support after the vetoes. For every executive order, the intercedent representative will draft a veto poll if the executive order is either similar in spirit with another executive order that was issued within the past 6 years or is likely to be enforceable for more than 60 days. The veto poll will be disseminated by the intercedent representative to the Hall of the Intercedent within 10 days of the signing of such an executive order by the President of the United States. The Hall of the Intercedent in every state and territory of the United States will submit the veto poll to every voting district within their respective state and territories within 48 hours and will hold the poll open for 96 hours. The Hall of the Intercedent will record the results of the poll, publicly publish the results within 24 hours, and securely forward the results to the intercedent representative. If 50% plus 1 rounded down to the nearest whole number poll to veto, the Hall of the Intercedent will issue a veto vote. Otherwise, the Hall of the Intercedent will conduct no further action. If the veto vote receives an 80% plus 1 rounded down to the nearest whole number from the respective voting districts with a 50% rounded down to the nearest whole number, the intercedent representative will securely notify the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House, and the President of the United States that the executive order has been rescinded by the citizens and that the order will be nullified on the first day after notification has been provided. So what this is saying is when the president creates an executive action, there are some pretty strict timelines here, but the Hall of the Intercedent will poll all the voters. If 80% of voters within a district say that the executive action should be rescinded, that is recorded. If 50% of all voting districts within the United States agree that the action should be rescinded, then the action is rescinded. So this is 80% of all voting districts within the United States have more than 50% support to rescind the executive order for it actually to be rescinded. D. For all other actions by the Congress and the President not covered in this Constitution, the intercedent representative will craft a veto poll and submit it to every Hall of Intercedent, and the Hall of Intercedent will submit the polls to their respective voting districts, following the requirements formulated based on where the action was originated. What this is saying is that for every action not covered already, the course has to follow the same course for wherever it is originated. Everything originating from the Senate has to follow the Senate course. Everything originated from the House of Representatives has to follow the House of Representatives course, and everything originating from the President has to follow the presidential course. The times, places, and manner of holding elections for senators and representatives shall be prescribed by the legislator thereof. But the intercedent may at any time make or alter such regulations no less than 1 week prior to the casting of ballots. State legislators can create voting parameters, but the intercedent can change it as long as it doesn't change it within 1 week of voting. 9. The intercedent shall be the judge of the elections, returns, and qualifications of members of each House of Congress. So the intercedent is in charge when it comes to elections. 10. The intercedent, upon receiving either solicited or unsolicited petition from 50% plus 1 voter in 50% plus 1 House of Representative districts in any state or territory of the United States, or 50% plus 1 of all Senate districts within the state and territories of the United States, will pursue litigation to overturn any executive or legislative action or order pertaining to the state or territory or entire United States respectively. This does not limit or prohibit the ability of any entity or organization to privately fund a judicial challenge to any executive or legislative action or order. So if voters want to sue the federal government, the intercedent is forced to do that on